Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. It's Monday, February the 6th, and like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. We're going to be discussing a couple of NBA games today. Doug, how are you? How was your weekend? I hope all is well.
Yes, everything is good, Ross. Like I mentioned last week, the weather's been good, a little cooler today, but just still good. And from that standpoint, and so yeah, a couple of things. Had a real nice day on Saturday. Had a winning day in college basketball on Saturday based on records, so that was very good. Like I said, talked about getting some momentum going, so that certainly helped the matters there. And then had my revenge game of the week on the same day on Saturday in the NBA as the Bucks took care of Miami, who they lost to last month twice in a row at Miami. So that was good. And then yesterday, Ross, I sat down and I started figuring my spring training schedule. That's
All
right.
right.
Baseball in Arizona, a little under 3 weeks now. Pitchers and catchers report on the 15th. And then after that, so got some things going. Got the Cubs and Dodgers 3 weeks from yesterday. Okay,
Yeah.
that I'm going to be going to. So yeah. So when you got that going, nothing wrong with sports and different types of sports betting stuff, and looking forward to baseball then as
Yeah.
well.
I know you're a big baseball fan. And for those of you who don't know, Doug resides in the Phoenix Arizona area, and a lot of Cactus League games up that way. And Doug loves to attend. Are you going to shoot any videos from
Oh
those games?
yes, I will definitely shoot some videos and we can talk about stuff like that. But yes, I always do. I shouldn't say always. Probably the other than the COVID year or two that was involved, I tried to see every team, all 15 teams that are here, at least once, and then also then have a preseason report with a season win total, and that's available at my page at Docs. Okay, is where
Beautiful.
that's at right now.
Yeah, I had a 2-1 Friday. The only game I lost, Washington led by 18 at the half, and they blew the game.
Oh
And they
yeah,
lost by 8. And then the following night, they blew another 20-point lead. So go figure. Both is a favorite. So it's only, I looked at the database, and only once since 2014 has a team lost back-to-back games straight up as a favorite and blew 20-point leads on each occasion. So that's how rare that was. Anyway, 4-3 on Saturday. Kissed my sister with a 3-3 in college basketball. Had Oklahoma City on Saturday night, who won 152 to 123 over the Houston Rockets. So,
yep,
okay weekend, I guess. So
yeah.
what's that? 6-5, and then yesterday I lost. So it was a mediocre type of whole thing over the last week or so, but that happens. You know what I mean? Like we were talking off air, 12-11 week last week. It's that's certainly not up to either one of our standards, but by the same token, like we discussed, it's a hell of a lot better than having a very bad week at that. So we'll bounce back this week and make some money. And Doug, topics of discussion. What we could look at two things here. We're going to be discussing the Lakers game with Oklahoma City that's being played tomorrow, and some record-setting possibilities for LeBron James in terms of points scored. And then also, before we get to our games, a trade. Kyrie Irving, the malcontent that he is, the toxic individual that he is, got traded again and demanded a trade, and the Nets didn't hesitate. They pulled the trigger, sent him to Dallas. They got Spencer Dinwiddie, who's averaging over 20 a game, or 17 a game this season, excuse me, and then Dorian Finney-Smith, who he's like a career 8-point scorer. He's averaging 9 per game, but certainly will add to some quality depth. Your thoughts on that trade play? Plus, they also grabbed a few draft picks that
Yep.
don't come into play until 2027 and 2029.
So, well, what is your thoughts? First of all, I'd like to hear what you have to say, and then
Yeah.
I'll play off that.
Spencer Dinwiddie goes back to Brooklyn, where he he in 2019, 2020 averaged a career high 20 points per game. He's averaging 34 minutes per game this season. I think when they get Durant back and they get all their pieces back, that they'll be fine. Okay. But Kyrie Irving is a clutch performer. As much of a malcontent jerk as he can be sometime. At playoff time, certainly didn't do it with the Nets, but his time with the Cavs, he was a clutch performer. So it's hard to replace a guy like that, but I think it balances out because you're grabbing pretty much two double-digit scorers per game. Dorian's Finney-Smith, a little over 10 points a game. And like I said, Dinwiddie, 17 points per game. I think it'll be good for both teams. The only thing I don't like on the Dallas end is he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, meaning Kyrie Irving. They must have negotiated and said that we're going to work out a deal for you to stay here to make a trade that they did and give up so many assets.
Yeah, I mean, to do that, I don't know that. First of all, I don't know that you can do that. By the NBA bylaws, to set that up. So that's one thing offhand. I know that one of the most fundamental differences between you and I, Ross, is you're a glass is half empty guy. I'm a half full guy. Excuse me, and I'm a half empty guy. I don't think this trade does anything for either team personally. I can see why Dallas would make it. They probably feel they're closer than even what seems to be the case because they're in sixth place, but they're only basically 3 games in the loss column out of third. So from that standpoint, so they bring in a guy that's averaging 28 points per game. You put him with your all-world or all-star player, and maybe good things happen. But you're also now at the same time you've taken out 2 key players out of your rotation. Okay, are you going to be able to make up those points, or does Irving make those points up? Obviously, they feel that it's going to make those points up. Is he automatically a problem in the locker room? Probably not. New team, everything else from that standpoint. But ultimately, is he? Of course he is. So that's going to be the case. Now, on Brooklyn's side, they had 2 components, but they had to get players, and this was, I think, a big part of the trade. They had to get players that could contribute immediately because I don't care how you want to look at it. Kevin Durant's 34 years old. Okay. Are they going to win the NBA title? Are they going to win the East? No, they're not going to. So it's kind of like, where are they going from here? Okay. Are looking even ahead to next year. Are you going to build your team around a 35-year-old player? I don't know, who's injury prone, by the way, as opposed to, I mean, LeBron has had certainly more injuries as he's gotten older, but nowhere near what Durant has had, from that standpoint. So I don't know. To me, it's kind of a nothing trade, and as we've talked about and mentioned many times, to even have consideration to win an NBA title, you got to be in the top 3 in your conference. Because if you don't, you got no shot. And I'm not sure, both teams to me are borderline top 3 at best. And then who's going to be ahead of them? I can't see them beating either one. So I don't know. The NBA, I mean, they had no choice, from the Brooklyn standpoint. And the other thing, too, is that, I'm sure they were tired of him.
Yeah, and they dumped some salary. I'm not sure. Now, before I speak out on that, I don't know how much Brooklyn's going to retain and Dallas has to pick up. The one potential problem I see, Doug, is I know Kyrie Irving, he's not fond of playing 2 guard as opposed to the point guard. And is that going to be an issue again? Because, Luka Doncic, say what you will, this guy is the best point guard in basketball, in my opinion, anyway. And Kyrie is a great player in his own right when he plays the point, but is that going to be a problem? Because obviously you're not going to move Doncic to a 2 guard. You're going to move Kyrie to a 2 guard, which he's had to do in the past as well. I mean, you anticipate any problems in that regard, or have any thoughts that I may be missing in terms of my thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I know that super teams are things that in many cases that's how you can win championships if you put together the right combination of players. But no matter what happens in any situation of any team that's ever won doing that, all 3 players have to give up something.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Luka is going to want to give up anything. I'm not sure Irving wants to give up anything. So I'm just not sure. And the other thing, too, and I'm curious to see in this year's playoffs, is that so on the presumption that Dallas is in the playoffs, the one thing is that was so evident last year when they played Boston, his height was a huge problem. I mean, his quickness and everything, there's probably nobody in the NBA who has more lateral quickness and first step quickness possibly in the NBA than him.
Yeah.
But with size, when those Boston guards, Brown and stuff like that would guard him at 6'6", 6'7", I mean, they could just shut him down. And when you go to the lane, I mean, they just turned him right off. Now, I'm not sure who they're going to match up with in the playoffs, but if they run into that matchup, I mean, there'll be an early exit based on, that type of mentality that you'd see from opposing teams facing the same team, game after game.
Yeah. So you can get the book on a player, but you still have to have the size and the athletes like Boston has. That's why a matchup. We could talk further on that once we know what the matchup may be. But it's a good point, Doug. He was long considered as the best finisher in the game, meaning when they really needed a basket and he goes to the hole, he just had just an innate ability to finish at the rim, even at his size. So we'll see what goes forward. Some interesting things for once to talk about in the NBA. And of course, it lends to the uncertainty of situations in upcoming games, which I'm going to cover one that has some uncertainty. But one thing for sure is there's no uncertainty about that Oklahoma City, and the LA Lakers game on Tuesday evening. And you're going to cover that for us.
Yeah, we know what's at stake. And there's a lot of LeBron detractors, and I sort of get it, from that. But when you've been basically the top dog for literally almost 18 years, I mean, you're going to pick up some detractors. I mean, it's just the way it's going to be. And I even, like I said, I even understand something. But I mean, this is monumental. I mean, this makes you, win or lose. I mean, you get people that say, he didn't win championships or he lost championships. Well, every championship that he lost, his team was an underdog. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to blame that on him or not, that's up to you. But the fact of the matter is, this guy can be the all-time leading scorer and will be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. I don't know. Got to give him his due.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can look at it.
You know what, Doug? And the other part of the equation that people fail to realize is he took some teams to the NBA Finals when they lost. It really, beside him, he carried them on their back. They were not, the teams in Cleveland are a perfect example of that. I mean, yeah, they had Kevin Love in his prime and some other good players at the time, but those teams would not have even come close to making the NBA Finals without him. So, and the guy's kept himself in terrific shape. He doesn't play the major minutes like he used to on a consistent basis. But like you said, with Kevin Durant, he's been injury prone even in his prime. Okay, so yeah, LeBron right now is going through some injury issues here and there, but he's also up there in age. When he was young and in his prime, this guy was an 82 game a year player unless they were resting him because the game didn't mean anything down the stretch. So anyway, I'll let you take it away on that game and give us your thoughts on who you like.
Yes, I certainly will. And you know what? So unfortunately, this game's not going to be on TNT, Ross. I don't know how TNT schedule works, but I was surprised they didn't make the effort. But the one thing that I'm sure they won't do is, or at least we won't see like with Aaron Judge going after the record. I don't think we'll see LeBron miss 15 shots in a row. Just a guess here offhand on that one. But yeah, so LeBron needs 15 points, 37 points to break the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. He's on a mediocre team, as we know. The Lakers 25-29, currently out of the playoff picture, okay, right now. However, as tight as it is, if they would go on a 3 or 4 game win streak, or right before the All-Star break, they'd be right back in the conversation, at least for the play-in game. Now, Now, the purple and gold, we know this is a dysfunctional team. You got oft injured Anthony Davis. You got Russell Westbrook, who when he gets on the floor, sometimes he's just playing a different game than everybody else. And that's not necessarily good, okay, from that standpoint. Now, this team has plenty of offensive talent. Hey, they rank sixth in the NBA at 117.1 points per game, which, by the way, is just one slot behind Oklahoma City, who is number 5 in filling up the basket. Okay. Now, this motley crew of a roster that the Lakers have, well, you know what? They have a bunch of guys who either can't play defense or are no longer interested in playing defense. They rank 27th in points allowed. And, they really do look like, at best, a play-in team. Now, Oklahoma City is 2 games better, okay, than the Lakers in the Western Conference. They had a really nice stretch where they went 8-3 recently and covered 10 out of 11, but they're just 2-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 4. But with their scoring, there's, like I said, they got a nice diversified offense, and they're 20th in points allowed. Now, for the 3rd straight year, Ross, Thunder are a terrific underdog. Okay. We've both benefited greatly from backing them over the last few years. And, and on the road this year, 16-5 as a road underdog. Now, with that potent offense and their ability just to hang around and stay in games, I look at the Lakers at -7.5 here, and I say, that's just too many points. I get why the odds makers want to send that. And there is no question the possibility that the Lakers could just go off. Okay. LeBron and the Lakers are coming off 2 days rest. Oklahoma City is playing Monday night at Golden State and has to play without rest the next day. But I just think this team has too much. The Lakers, they have too many defensive problems, okay, on this one. And Oklahoma City, take this, 9-1 against the spread versus teams that force 13 or fewer turnovers a game. So I'm going to say take Oklahoma City plus the 7.5, even though I think the Lakers will win. And I got a bonus selection here is that nothing on the prop yet. I checked just before we went on air here for total points scored for LeBron, but he needs 37. He averages 30. Okay. On this one, if the prop is, let's say, 35, 36 or less, I got to take that one for a prop bet and points scored by LeBron on his special day.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be over that. Meaning the 137, or what did you say the number was?
37.
Yeah. I can't imagine it would be over 37.
No.
So yeah, that's an interesting side note to take the prop on LeBron scoring over his listed point total for tomorrow, which is not posted yet. But you do like Oklahoma City plus the 7.5 over the LA Lakers. I agree with you. I go back to my boxing analogy that I like to use with sizable underdogs like Oklahoma City currently is listed as for tomorrow. Don't forget, they play tonight, so we never know what could happen in terms of injury status going into tomorrow. But if they're healthy and their roster is intact, we get a puncher's chance in this game is what I like to call it. You're never out of it when a team can score like they can, and especially when they're getting 7.5 points, which I consider a sizable margin. And like you just said, Doug, they've been a great road underdog, and getting 7.5 against a team that's below 500. They're not only a great road underdog this year, but like you touched upon, the last 3 seasons, actually, they've been a great road underdog. So Doug likes Oklahoma City plus a 7.5 at the LA Lakers. I can't disagree with him. Doug also says if you can get LeBron James at 35 points or fewer on his total points scored for that game, he likes that to go over the total as a prop. Which lends itself to him breaking that scoring record. It could happen where he falls a little short and still wins the prop, but we'll see. In any event, I'm going to look at the Minnesota and Denver game. Denver currently a 6.5 point favorite, and the total is 236.5 according to Bet Online. And folks, keep in mind, we're recording more than 24 hours in advance. Depending on when you view this video, both lines in both games are subject to change. These teams just played on Sunday in Minnesota, and the T-Wolves came away with a 128-98 blowout win. That game barely stayed under the total of 226.5, falling on 226. That makes Minnesota 8-1 to the under in their last 9 games, and that includes 6-0 to the under if the total was 230 or greater. And Minnesota also 3-0 to the under in division away games this season when the total is 230.5 or greater. And those games had an average total of 236.8 and a shade under 230 points combined were scored in those games. Now, keep in mind with that result on Sunday, when these two teams squared off, Denver was without 4 of their key players, all averaging double digits per game, and highlighted by MVP Nikola Jokic, who was out as well. All 4 of those players are listed as questionable going into tomorrow night's game. So in that loss also, they had a guy step up. That was Cam Thomas of Brooklyn. I'm sorry, my mistake. The history in this series, especially at Denver, has been high scoring. However, based on Minnesota results of late and the uncertain status of those key players for Denver, who average a combined 76 points per game, I'm going to lean toward the under here, Doug, as an early play. I'm going to take the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves to go under the total of 236.5.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Ross. Is that because if you think of, like, for example, the side now, totals for me are in the NBA are a little more difficult, but it's probably, I would guess it's probably lower than it would be if they were all playing. For sure, the side is okay. The 6.5. There, I mean, Denver should be closer to 9.5 on this one. So I'm going to guess that we're probably talking of 3 to 4 points on the total. So yeah, it's a lower scoring game, and obviously, as you said, the most important thing though about this is that this is to be determined. Because we need to know what the status of all these Denver players is, however many it happens to be. So I think that would be important. And because it's a TV game, you have to wonder if the old commissioner is saying, like, rest your players, rest them early because I want them on TV. Because that was a big point of emphasis, until this year, really, where they, always wanted to star players to play. So we'll see how that turns out. So yeah, stay tuned on that one.
Yeah, and keep an eye on that total, to see if it moves or not. And also, folks, check the injury reports in the morning, see what players may be available. Not always an assurance that those reports are going to be accurate, as we've seen on many occasions this year in the NBA. But as it stands right now, I have a small lean here early on this game to go under 236.5. And Doug likes the Oklahoma City Thunder plus the 7.5 at the LA Lakers. Doug also likes a prop on LeBron James if you can get 35 points or less as far as his point scoring projection. With any sports book, he likes it to go over that number. In any event, Doug, tell the folks a little bit about what you've been doing and what you may have coming up.
Yes, Ross, with what's coming up, hey, we got the Super Bowl, okay, coming up this week, and so that's going to be exciting. And as I told you, Ross, I'm going to take the credit for this one. The last Monday when we talked, you said Philadelphia at 2.5. I don't know if you changed your mind, but I said that line might go down, and lo and behold, it did. From that standpoint, I've actually backtracked a little bit on that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to do some more investigating, obviously, this week, but I'm going to have that play. I'm going to decide on that. I'm not going to do the total. I've already made up that decision, but I got 5 props already that I'm for sure going to have. I might have as many as 8, okay, that I'm actually looking at in total. So you could pick up 9 plays from me for just $25 at Docs on Thursday at 6 Eastern. Okay, for the Super Bowl. I'll be ready to go. Had a very good year last year for the Super Bowl and expect to do the same. And then, of course, then we still have, college basketball, NBA, hockey's back now, so that's good. So there's a lot of good things coming our way, and that Super Bowl, though, it's going to be the talk for everybody this upcoming week.
Yeah, I attribute that line move to there's been reports Patrick Mahomes has been steadily improving with
Right.
that high ankle sprain. So I think a lot of that has to do with it. But I'm still going to stick with what I originally said, Doug. I like the Philadelphia Eagles here. And folks, I will put it up for sale. But if you're watching these videos, you will have the glorious opportunity to cash in without having to pay, is what I think. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, now, just to ask you a question, and you don't have to answer if you don't want. I'm
Sure.
of the opinion because of what the spread is and stuff. I think this is a money line bet. I don't
Oh,
think.
absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
I'm the way I think, Doug.
Right. Right.
Hey, if you get 135 or less on the money line with Philadelphia, take it. If you like Kansas City, if they're going to give you anything, always take it. I'm not
Right.
one of those guys that gets greedy with money line underdogs. On occasion, maybe if it's a +1 and I can get plus 115 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, I would be leaning toward the toward the money line if you like Philadelphia and if they still remain a favorite. And I would take Kansas City, take whatever they give you there, 1.5, 2, 1, whatever it is, So that's my thought process. Yourself?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's just, my guess is though. I mean, I know that plenty of people will be sides, will be taking points or giving points, but it just the feel of the game is just more of that of a contest that the money line just seems like the right play either side.
Yeah,
From that standpoint.
Doug, I just think that honestly, I think Philadelphia is better on both sides of the ball. I really do. I know Jalen Hurts, since he hurt his shoulder, you can make a case he's not been as effective, and you're probably right. But again, yeah, Mahomes has improved according to what they're saying. I'm sure
Yep.
he's getting 24/7 treatment. But you look at Philadelphia's skilled players offensively, and to me, they have better skilled players offensively, other than the tight end situation. I mean, and even then, Dallas Goedert's not a bad tight end for Philadelphia, So, and defensively, I don't think it's even close. I just think Philadelphia is one of the top 5, if not the best defense in all of football. And they could attack you in many ways. So we'll see. Again, but we've seen Patrick Mahomes make defenses we thought were awesome look awful silly. All you have to do is look back to that game at San Francisco earlier this season. That was a San Francisco team that finished number 1 in total defense, number 2, I think, in scoring defense, and he put up Kansas City put up 45 points and over 500 yards against them. So interesting matchup. We'll talk more on this when we talk on Thursday, Doug.
Yep.
On Thursday, we'll be talking NBA as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'll be back tomorrow morning with Jesse Shule and Sean Higgs, as we'll be discussing 3 games in college basketball that take place tomorrow night. So you already got 2 plays from me and Doug in the NBA. Folks, rbwins.com is my website. That's rbwins.com. 25-17 with my last 42 in all sports. Also, basketball picks 131-106 with my last 237. Dime players have made over $14,000 with those picks. College basketball since November 17th, 59-46. So things are going good. College basketball totals too. Folks, keep an eye on my NBA and college basketball totals. College basketball totals 23-9 with my last 32. And combined college basketball and NBA totals 42-24 with my last 66. That's rbwins.com. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks. Damn it.